John, what do you think about them burning your memorabilia yesterday?
Hey, you know, everything would be all right if you just said hello, maybe.
Hello, maybe.
These kind of events are a fiasco to me. This is idiots taking themselves far too serious.
What happens when Punk's loudest voice decides to go off script? Johnny Rotten, the snarling frontman of the Sex Pistols, has never been afraid to speak his mind. But when he named the 4 bands he absolutely can't stand, even longtime fans were stunned. These weren't just casual critiques, they were full-on takedowns. And it wasn't about petty drama either. Rotten had reasons, some brutally honest, others just plain bizarre. So which bands made his blacklist, and what exactly did they do to earn his wrath? Let's just say it starts with eyeliner, ends with stadium lights, and somewhere in between he calls someone a karaoke punk act. But the first band on his hit list? That one shocked everyone. Johnny Rotten didn't mince words when it came to Green Day. In an interview that quickly went viral, he slammed them as a poor imitation of a style we created. He claimed they were repackaging punk for the masses, watered down, overly commercial, and completely disconnected from what punk was ever supposed to be. But it got even harsher. He flat out called them a karaoke band in punk costumes, accusing them of cosplaying rebellion without earning any of it. To Rotten, punk wasn't fashion, it was survival. Green Day, in his eyes, were just actors playing punks on TV. The internet exploded. Some fans defended Green Day, saying they introduced a whole new generation to punk. Others sided with Rotten, saying real punk died when it hit the charts. But whether you agree or not, Rotten wasn't done. His second target, a band that dominated the 80s, and he had a personal vendetta. Next on Rotten's hit list, U2. And this one wasn't just about music, it was personal. Rotten has long accused Bono and his band of turning rock into a corporate sermon. He mocked their stadium-sized shows and political speeches, calling them hypocrisy wrapped in leather pants. According to him, U2 were less about rebellion and more about selling morality with a side of stadium fries. He especially hated how Bono turned every concert into a lecture. In Rotten's words, if I wanted a sermon, I'd go to church, not a rock show. Harsh, but classic Johnny. But beneath the insults was something deeper, a clash of ideologies. Where U2 used fame to preach causes, Rotten believed in punk as raw, messy, and brutally honest, not curated activism. And what really set him off? A rumor that U2 once tried to get the Sex Pistols banned from a UK charity show. Rotten never forgot it. But his third pick? That one takes us back to the glam era, and it still gets under his skin. Now, if there's one band that symbolized everything Johnny Rotten despised about the 1980s, it was Duran Duran. To Rotten, they were the complete opposite of punk. All polish, no grit. He didn't just dislike their music, he openly mocked their entire image. They looked like walking hair commercials. He once sneered, slamming their perfectly styled aesthetic as soulless fashion with a synth beat. Duran Duran represented the new wave invasion of MTV. Glossy videos, exotic locations, and models on yachts. For Johnny, it was a betrayal of what music should be. Real, dirty, and dangerous. He saw them as the face of an industry that had traded rebellion for marketability. But what really triggered him? Their massive popularity. Duran Duran dominated airwaves while bands like his were pushed to the underground. Rotten believed they were packaging rebellion in designer clothes and selling it to kids who didn't know any better. He once called them the final nail in rock's coffin. Dramatic? Sure, but with Johnny it always is. Still, his final pick? That one came as a shock. Not because of who he hated, but why. And it wasn't a pop band at all. Now this one really caught fans off guard, because Rotten didn't just go after mainstream pop or polished rock. He turned his fury on Green Day, a band often credited with reviving punk for a new generation. But to Johnny, they were pretenders. He saw them as a slick, mass-produced version of what punk was never meant to be. They dress the part, but they don't bleed for it, he scoffed in one interview. Rotten took particular issue with how Green Day packaged rebellion into chart-topping albums and Broadway musicals. When punk becomes theater, he growled, you've lost the plot. He didn't hate them for their sound. He hated them for what he believed they represented. Punk, stripped of danger, made digestible for mall kids. He called American Idiot a marketing campaign with guitar riffs. And though millions connected with its message, Rotten believed it was rebellion on a leash, safe, scripted, and sold to the masses. But whether you agree or not, Rotten's criticism hit a nerve. Even Billy Joe Armstrong reportedly responded with a subtle dig in a live show. Punk beef? Very possible. So after torching Green Day, who did Rotten not hate? His answer was surprisingly humble and brutally honest. Ready for the conclusion? After tearing through the bands he loathed, Rotten was eventually asked, "Well, is there anyone you actually respect?" Surprisingly, he didn't hesitate. He named The Clash, his old punk rivals, not with bitterness, but with a kind of reluctant admiration. At least they meant it, he said. They stood for something, even when we didn't see eye to eye.
That moment revealed something deeper about Johnny Rotten. For all the rage, sarcasm, and spiked venom, there was a core belief driving everything: authenticity.
Love him or hate him, Rotten never wanted to see music become a costume or a product. He believed every band had a responsibility to stand for something real, not just pose for the cameras. So maybe that's why his hatred felt so personal. Because for Johnny, music was never just about sound. It was about soul. And once you sold that off, there was no coming back. But that's the thing about Rotten. He never cared about being liked. He cared about being honest, even when it meant burning bridges, alienating fans, or slamming the biggest names in the game. And in a world full of polite silence, maybe that's what made him unforgettable. But the final name on Johnny Rotten's list might surprise you. It's not a punk band, nor a rebellious act. Instead, he singled out Coldplay, a band almost everyone seems to love. Rotten called their music soulless and accused them of watering down rock to a bland formula designed to sell millions. He didn't hold back, saying Coldplay's polished sound represented everything he stood against in music: safety, predictability, and a lack of real passion. This unexpected target shows just how deep Rotten's disdain for the mainstream music machine runs.
And what he thinks about their fans, let's just say it's not pretty.
Johnny Rotten didn't just rattle cages, he ripped them open. In a music industry where so many play nice for profit, he stayed raw, loud, and brutally honest. He didn't hide behind PR teams or polite interviews. If he hated your band, you'd know, and if he respected you, that was rare, and it meant something. Love him or loathe him, Rotten held up a cracked mirror to the music world and dared everyone to look. He reminded fans that music should never be safe, predictable, or fake. It should provoke, challenge, offend, inspire. That's why decades later, we're still talking about the guy who wasn't afraid to take shots at icons and name names. Because while most stars worry about losing followers, Rotten only ever wanted one thing: to tell the truth, even if it burned the whole scene down. And maybe that's the most punk thing of all. If you want more videos like this, or other deep dives into music and culture, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out my page for more content. Thanks for watching.